All right, let's get it rolling.
It's that time. Intro, no intro. It's that time of the week you've all been waiting for. We got Jake Malik, John Shear, Dave DeRocher, and of course JB Ellis, myself, Sideline Sports. Got a great show tonight. Got a lot of great topics, but we got to start with the bad, unfortunately, for our Atlanta audience. The Braves not able to get it done against the Phillies, losing 4 games, 3 games to one. Bryce Harper, the utter disrespect for the Braves and for the baseball as he was smashing it out of Citizens Bank Ballpark. The Braves, again, a great season gone to waste. I have my opinions on why this was this year, but I'm going to start with John, who I know covered the Orioles and similar situation, 100-win team, won the AL East, which is, the division everyone talks about in baseball is the best division. John, why are the better teams not winning in the second round or first round, whatever round you want to call it in the playoffs? Now that we have like 17 wild cards.
I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think that you can attribute rust to game one, but I don't think you can attribute it to the rest of the series because you don't forget how to play baseball. And maybe one game, but if you're a professional and if you're a really good team, you should be able to wake up if you lose that game one. The Astros were able to wake up whenever it looked like the Twins were giving them a fight. Astros were able to wake up. So there's no excuse for any of these other teams to just roll over and die and say, well, we were off a week, and that's not fair. Like, this is baseball, and you knew the format going in. It's not like it was a surprise. Again, I think one game you can excuse that, but after that, you should have woken up by then, and you just got beat. I speak that not only to the Braves but the Orioles and the Dodgers. You got beat. You got to do better. There's no way around it. You know what the format is, and you just gotta play within the rules and what you're asked to do. And none of those teams did that, and they're all sitting at home like us.
Dave, as the professional athlete of the group, is that a fair comment? You just gotta wake up and play better. I mean, here in baseball, you're facing 100-mile-an-hour pitches, balls that break across the plate. I mean, pitchers are phenomenal these days in what they can do. So not hitting a live pitcher for 5, 6 days. Is it fair to say, oh,
Wrong.
you
They
got one
did
day in, you're
simulated
good?
games, JB. They did simulated
Simu-
games. So make sure you
simulate
throw that in there.
exactly. Simulated is what it is. Simulated. What does simulated mean? It means nothing. Do you really care about practice? Ask Allen
Hey,
Iverson. Practice?
hey guys, hey, we've all been in the driving range, and those practice swings are always perfect, man. 'Cause there's no pressure. There's no quarter on the hole, and there's nothing. But you get over as soon as you do, the 3 practice swings, and you get over the ball to hit it for real. There's just something about it. Yes, John, you're right. I mean, they are professionals; they're getting paid millions of dollars a year. But to JV's point is that there's just that slight timing issue, and yes, you go up against one pitcher, but you're going up against 4 different pitchers, none of which have the same junk, the same stuff. It's different. It's different than football, where actually a week off sometimes bodes well because you're resting just injuries and things of that nature. But baseball is a completely different animal. Unfortunately, I can't speak to it because I always sucked in baseball. I was good enough to make the team, but man, I'll tell you what, that's no joke. People say, "Oh, there's a bunch of standing around." I'll tell you what, you get in front of a 95, 98 an hour fastball, and then the next one hit a nasty curve it's coming right at you and then breaks away off the plate. And you tell me how easy the game is. So, but it's kind of been proven. The point's being proven as we're watching it unfold. The best teams in the leagues are falling by the wayside.
Jake, I mean, listen, you're a huge baseball fan, right?
Unfortunately,
A
sometimes,
week
yes.
a week off. That's unnatural. Spring training is a month so the guys get ready. Now you're just going to take a
Yeah.
week off? That's unnatural for these guys.
Yeah, but I don't like saying these words because they kind of makes me hurt on the inside a little bit when I have to say it. But I kind of agree with John, and he's, for those that are watching this, know exactly what I'm talking about. You can see his reaction, But John's right. I mean, yeah, for once he is. I don't normally say that. I agree with the statement of game one. I get it. It's rust. That's totally fine. It's been a week. But by the time you're getting to your second game, you're talking about fourth, fifth at bat. You've had your time to prepare. You've seen the pitchers. These are guys you probably played at some point throughout the season, just because it's such a long season. It's kind of how it goes. You know what you're expecting. You got plenty of tape to watch on them. It's not like you can't see what they throw and can't kind of get a feel for their pitch mix. So it's not like you can't practice that either, even though I know you don't like the simulated games. John is also right about that. You can simulate the concept of the pitch mix that you're going to see. It won't be the exact same, but you can mentally prepare yourself to say, okay, this guy's going to go fastball up and in, then he's going to probably go slider down and away, and then he's going to go fastball right down the middle because he knows his fastball is that powerful, right? That is something you can prepare to see. Now, it's not going to be an exact science, but you can prepare for that. So again, game one, I get it. That's fine. But by game two, you got to be ready. You had your time to prepare. You are a professional athlete. You're paid to do it. I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
I tell you what, you can't simulate is being down 3 games. You can't simulate that. And you can't simulate every back being of the utmost importance or an opportunity to get one back. It's just any sport. You don't care if you're playing darts or playing pool with your buddies. And no one likes to lose. And you just extra grip, that extra just tension, that extra. When it comes to playoffs and you're done, it's not like a season where there's 160 other chances to get a win. Man, you've got to take advantage of every at bat, and that has attention, that has a little bit of a pucker effect, and the more you're losing, the more stress there is.
And if you're going to say, okay, game one is rust, you get a game to get over it, big deal. You lose game one, you've lost home field advantage already.
Yep,
that's a horrible thing.
Yep.
These teams are losing home field advantage in game one if we're going to say, oh, it's just rust, big deal, game one. So what was the point of winning 100 games?
Well, I didn't say big deal, but I'm saying if you lose game one, I can excuse the rust.
Agreed.
In game one. But then game two, you got to split that home series, salvage it. Then you get to go on the road, an opportunity to split there. And then game five will be in your house. So I'm saying you can't use the rust as an excuse if you're one of those 100-win teams. One game, but you have 2 other games to get back on the horse.
Well, I think the other thing that's important to note, the Braves were one of the best teams in all of baseball. They were one of the best teams at top to bottom in terms of just being able to get on base, getting hits. Somebody within that lineup would have been able to, you can basically point to somebody in the lineup and go, though they could be the guy that sparks this offense at any given moment. And that's for me, I guess, kind of the concern in this maybe is that you look at the Phillies and, leadoff hitters, Kyle Schwarber, for example, right? He's a great home run hitter, but if you look at his average, he's terrible. That's not what he does. So for him, it's like you just don't let him get on. You don't give him the home run ball. You try to get him with stuff away. You'll probably strike him out. The Braves were not that kind of a team. They were a team that was built to do everything, basically. You could get guys on base. They could steal. They could hit home runs. They could get balls in the gap. They did it all. So for me, it's one of those things that I know that there's rust involved, but there were 9 guys, and it's a very complete team. Any of them could have gotten this team going, and that's really where I have my concerns, I guess, is that 9 guys, all of them really just, were not at their top performance. I get if 1 or 2 were not there, but all of them is a little bit much.
One thing before we get off the baseball topic, one thing I do think they need to do, and I think that these top teams have a gripe, I think they need to reseed after the wild card round. I think that's something baseball has to implement to make it more fair for the top seeds. So that way so if like the Blue Jays, who were the worst seed in the AL, had won, then they should have went to play the Orioles. It shouldn't have been the Rangers. If that had happened, it didn't happen. But the MLB should pick up reseeding and make sense for the top teams. That's something that I think that they should look into and implement. Because if not take away the 1 week thing, but reseeding, then it kind of evens things out a little bit more.
I think the best thing they should do, add 2 more teams, make it an 8-team per league playoffs, no time
Just make
off.
it bigger. Why not?
Listen, what it's unnatural to have a week off in baseball, and we can see the effect. 75% of the better teams lost. Last year was the same thing. So there's obviously a problem with the system if the better teams don't win. But speaking of better, let's go to our guest. We have a great guest tonight from the Atlanta area. We got Chris Draft coming in. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm good. What's going on?
Hey, come on now, JB. I think we could do a little bit better with the intro.
Jimmy sounds like sleep tonight.
How about this?
It's been a long week.
How about I help out and introduce my buddy? So
Please.
for those of you that aren't aware, those of you Falcon fans that aren't aware, that this guy was drafted 98, 6th round, only played 13 years in the league. We can't fault him for playing at Stanford because at one point they had a program. They were pretty good at one point. I remember those days. The Cardinal.
They just beat Colorado, man. We're coming back.
I was like, Chris, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. But you did spend 5 seasons with the Falcons and a handful of other teams. But we're in the Atlanta area, so we want to highlight that. But I've gotten to know Chris as the man, and I love him and his heart. And I met him at the Heart of a Champion program hosted by Athletes in Action and the King Movement at the Super Bowl for the last 2 years. And last year he sent me all these great pictures of me proposing to my now fiance, and we've become great friends. And I do want to ask him about his White Ribbon Project. Anyways, Chris, thanks for joining us today, brother.
Hey, my pleasure. My pleasure. It was a little tough though, listening to the baseball talk, and
thank you.
And I had to reflect. Well, it's tough. I'm here in Atlanta, man. I'm cheering for the Braves, and yes, it is difficult to really accept that. You give the guys that much time off. The most time that they get off is if they don't go to the All-Star game, is about 2.5 days. And so 5 days, I mean, it's obvious that it got all the teams out of rhythm.
Hey, Chris,
I like Chris already.
Hey, Chris, during your playing days, did you make it to the playoffs?
Went to the playoffs 3 times, 2 times to the championship game.
Okay, and did you have any first week buys?
We had a first week bye when I was with Atlanta in 2004. And that's the only one that we had. But we was worried about that a little bit, right? That, how are we going to handle it? I mean, it's great to have that week off. Football a little bit different because your body is beat up and, it has a chance to be a lot healthier with it. But also it can make it where you get a little bit loose. Mm-hmm. So we definitely responded real well. I think we had the Rams, they came to us and we kind of took them apart when we played, but still having that time off can be a little bit concerning.
Okay. Well, Chris, you kind of beat me to the punch between you and Dave, and I'm a little bothered that you guys did this because you are a Stanford guy, and we were talking about it before the show started, and I was talking, man, Colorado just fell apart this weekend, and Stanford stepped up to the plate. How was that experience for you? Because I'm a very neutral party in this. I couldn't care less what happens. I just kind of enjoy watching the game when I can. But you, as a former Stanford kind of guy, you were probably pretty excited, were you not?
I was extremely excited, But more I was excited really for the young men as it relates to watching the first half. And they didn't look good, right? I mean, we can be honest about it. They did not look good in that first half. And for me as a Stanford Cardinal, where they're building the program, we've got a new coach and they're on prime time. So everyone is watching, right? So just like, Dion, you have all the recruits when you're, they come to the game and they watch your team. And so this is for Stanford. We recruit all over the nation. This is our opportunity. This is our showcase to say to young people who are tremendous athletes, but also tremendous in the classroom, which is the only people that we can recruit, that Stanford is the place for you, right? That don't look at some of these other ones. Stanford, we need you. We want you. And that first half said, ooh, Oh my goodness.
Wasn't a good start.
It did not look good. And I got to be honest with the fact that I was going to the Michigan game the next day. A young man is a backup punter for Michigan, and I was going to the game the next day. So I did not stay up and watch all of it. So I woke up. I mean, you want to talk about the best surprise, right up there with Santa Claus coming. All right, when there's no presents under the Christmas tree and your parents hide the gifts, wait for you to go to sleep, and then you wake up early, you're like, oh my goodness, Santa.
But Chris, we've watched enough games, and sometimes it's easier for us to turn it off when we're looking at it and it's not going our way. We're going, holy smokes, this isn't pretty. That's going to be a tall order. I mean, that's going to be 180-degree shift. Like to your point, I got to get up late. I've already gotten beat up enough. I'm good to turn it off. On the rare occasion, I go, oh my gosh, I wish I would have stayed. It's those games, right? Those comebacks that you wanted to see kind of how it all unfolded, to watch those young men who, for all intent and purposes, were beat up at halftime, getting embarrassed, to pivot and come back.
Like I'm saying, I wish I saw it
Yeah.
live, but even if they were playing well, I would have probably went to sleep because Michigan was playing at 12 o'clock the next day, and that's where I was going to go, and I had to go and smooze and talk and all of that, and I knew I needed to be fresh to be able to do it. But I'm just so proud of these young men that they were able to respond and be able, again, to send a message like that we've got fight in us. All right, and the Pac-12 in general has tried to show that this whole year, and it says that the Pac-12 might be going, but we're not going without a fight. And yeah. I think what Stanford did is the same thing of sending a strong message that we're rebuilding a program. If you're a person that has some fight to you, that doesn't just want to go to school and be great, but wants to be able to do both and be great, this is a place for you. You're going to be a part of us, building, but this is a place for you.
So Chris, you brought up a great point with the Pac-12. Yeah. I mean, we're in Atlanta. This College Football Hall of Fame's here, so they understand the history of the Pac-12. Being a Stanford guy, first of all, how do you feel about the dissolvement of the Pac-12 and where Stanford's going to end up?
I will say I am extremely disappointed in the fact that it's dissolving, but at the same time, it needed a guy like Deion, right? So I would have, if Deion could have gotten here 2 years before, he would have said to a USC and a UCLA, "What, you're going to leave without fighting?"
Of course.
And by him challenging them, I mean, like you see all these actors and actresses, and they're on the sideline.
Everybody.
Like that's what
world.
USC could do that all the time, right? So if you want it to be flash, the ones in LA could have always done that, but they haven't. They just haven't tapped into it and really decided to fight for it. So once they decided to leave, that really screwed over the Pac-12, and now you have it where it's at. And so we're having this amazing season, but because a couple of years ago, they didn't just get in the room together and say, you know what, we ain't going down without a fight. We're going to stand up and we're going to get this thing right.
That's a great point.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's a little bit, I don't know if disappointing is the right word. The timing is unfortunate. That's what it is. This could have been such a different story that we're talking about. Instead of everybody's leaving, we could be talking about this is one of the most fun conferences to watch now, as opposed to what we're talking about, which is, oh, that sucks. Everybody's kind of just finding their way out, going somewhere else, kind of choosing where they want to go now. So yeah, it's
it reminds me of the Pac-12 of old. I mean, I'm older than all y'all. And I remember when this was commonplace, when it was, the SC and UCLA and Stanford, at least, and Dub, would be in there. Of course, the Oregon schools back when I played were just the stepping stones of everybody. They weren't even mentioned. But those powerhouses, and even Cal on occasion, were, you just expected to see them in the top 10, at least top 20. And that was year after year. and then they kind of fell by the wayside. Is why this thing fell apart. You know, it was like it was just almost like lost steam, lost interest. But now it's now they're killing it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's challenged the Pac is where the schools are located, and it makes it where Oregon has tricked out their facility. Let's just be real on that. But some of the property values where the colleges are make it where they can't create those facilities that are in the South. And last year, as I was watching early in the season, and you see a Bryce Young, you see a C.J. Stroud. You see, I can't say his name. He was down in Clemson, went to St. John Bosco. It's at Oregon State now. And those three cats are Southern California guys. And so historically, there's no way they're leaving Southern California. There's no way they're going to the South. And so that's what's changed the Pac. I mean, you didn't lose California guys. We're talking about C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young that are top picks in the draft, right? That would have never left California, right? And so that's the part. Can we hold them? Can we keep them? Are we willing to fight for them? And there were a lot of people that were thinking, like, I don't think we can get it done. And now what do you see with Deion? Deion has showed that if you bring the juice, people will stay up and watch the games, right? You don't have to give up and say, oh, nobody's going to watch it. No, if you bring the juice, people will stay up late and watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, I admit I enjoy watching Colorado now just because, I mean, it doesn't matter if the team's good or not. Deion's got them, he's got them like him. So they have that mentality, that swagger.
Chris, this program suffered from that playing 7:30 Saturday night deal on the West Coast. I mean, Marshall Faulk, for all intent and purposes, should have been the Heisman that year, but nobody saw him. And we've had others that were considered but didn't have a chance. And that's tough. It's tough for recruiting too. But I agree. We've had the discussion about Deion, and bottom line is, what's everyone talking about, and what's everybody watching? Now, he can build a program. This is a program nobody cared about 10 months ago at all. Like, it's like nobody wanted him. Nobody even cared. Nobody was watching. So,
so he's shown that, kids from other areas will come. So we've got kids that are leaving California. But what is he showing? That if we really go after them, if we decide to show them the love that they need, recognizing that we're now competing not just against the other West Coast schools, but that we're competing against the rest of the country now, because they're not, they're willing to go to other places. I know there was a tight end at Michigan who's from Carlsbad, right? Again, a kid from Carlsbad who grew up with that weather. Dave, you know what that weather is, that beautiful weather in Carlsbad. Does not want to go to Michigan, but now it really is a possibility where back in the day that would never happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chris,
I couldn't imagine going to Michigan if I lived in Southern California. There would be no question where I'd play.
I wouldn't want to leave ever for anything.
No.
Yeah, it's changed in terms of it, but that's where, again, you can't just blame the kids. You just have to do a better job of selling. And again, a place like UCLA and USC, I'll say that UCLA, I've had some great conversations with them, and the Rams have done a great job of kind of pulling out the fact that Kenny Washington, the first black player in the NFL, actually is visible. But the reality is that Kenny Washington played in a backfield with Jackie Robinson.
Uh-oh.
And then they had Woody Strode that was there with him. But Kenny Washington, Jackie Robinson, Woody Strode, you have the first black player in baseball, first black player in football in the same backfield. Man, if that shouldn't be all over everything that they have that says that you want to be a part of something special.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's a very good point.
I mean, I will say this, even as this craziness in the world that is happening, there's a guy, his name is Ralph Bunche. Ralph Bunche went to UCLA, actually received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1950 for the work that he did with the UN and the creation of Israel, right? That is UCLA. So if you want to recruit people, you're going to, take what you have, take who you are and use it, right?
Yeah. Sell
Other
yourself.
people are.
Yeah. Hey,
Absolutely.
Chris, it's great having you on. I see you, and for those of you who don't follow Chris, I'm going to ask you where you live, because you look like you're just like a nomad gypsy, just spreading love all over the country. And this is serious, because every time I open it up, you're in a different state and somewhere else. Where are you living now? Are you living in Atlanta?
I live in Atlanta,
right.
but so much of my work is it's what I'm actually saying, that in terms of football, is we're recruiting leaders as it relates to the lung cancer community, getting people that want to stand up and do something special and something different, right?
Please share that a little bit more, because we are in Atlanta with our radio show, but we are nationwide with Sideline Sports. Share a little bit about what the white ribbon is all about.
So the white ribbon represents love, right? And it represents the lung cancer community. So it's a white ribbon that has lung cancer awareness on it. Why does that matter to me specifically? Well, I finished up my career in 2010, and my wife, Keisha, got diagnosed, or my girlfriend at the time got diagnosed with lung cancer, right? She's 37 years old, no history of smoking, in amazing shape. She's challenging me to do P90X and run a 10K race. And out of nowhere has a little shortness of breath. It's not one that would say, forget it, I'm not going to go to a doc. Her one of her best friends is her primary care doc, and went in, got some antibiotics, chest x-ray, came back that she had a mass in her left lung. 2 days after Christmas, we had a biopsy in 2010, lung cancer. Week later, PET scan, stage 4 lung cancer, right? Craziness. Yeah. There were new therapies that really, again, they were right on the front lines that she was tested for. She was negative to be able to get those new drugs. So she was on standard chemo and radiation, and unfortunately passed a year later, December 27th, 2011. But before she passed, we had a chance to get married. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. We had a chance to get married. So November 27th, 2011, we got married. And before that day, she asked me, she said, what if we don't get presents? What if we ask our family and friends to support the foundation? The Chris Draft Family Foundation was already started and created an initiative for the lung cancer community. And, I tell this story. I was actually in Nashville earlier today, and I'm coming back to Atlanta, and I tell the story that too often I have people that'll say, wow, it's so amazing what you do in honor of your wife, that you started the, kind of the initiative after your wife passed, right? And I'm like, no, I think you got to give my wife her credit. Give her her credit, right? It took a little while before she was ready to fight for everyone. And the key is initially she had to decide that she wanted to fight to live, right? Because that's a huge decision. Like, are you going to fight to live, or are you just going to accept death, right? With this terrible diagnosis. And she chose to fight to live. And so every day you could just see her refocus and continue to smile and live, right? And so when we got to this point, it was her decision to say, let's go fight, recognizing that it was always going to be a team, that it's bigger than her. Even if she's alive, it's bigger than her. If she passes, it's bigger than her, right? So much like a ball team that, like, we're going to lose some guys. We are, but the team is going to continue. We got to replace them. We got to build up leadership. She knew that. And so she's the one that asked. And so when she passed, I had to ask myself. A lot of folks will say, well, of course you were just going to just continue. I said, no, I'm not going to just go based on emotion and just run out and advocate. I couldn't do that. Yeah. I needed to be honest, and number one, I needed to be able to ask the question and answer it. can I accept that nothing that I do will bring her back? Nothing. Number two, can I be happy for people benefiting from things that my wife didn't benefit from? Progress. And then am I willing to fight for that progress to make sure that everyone that has an opportunity to benefit from it gets it? Right? Yes, yes, yes.
Well,
Right.
I'll tell you, Chris, and for those of you listening to the Atlanta area, you see Chris out there. If you haven't come out and supported him when he's out doing an event, he's doing them all the time. So you can't say you haven't seen it. I have. And the cool thing about what Chris does with these ribbons is he cuts them all, sands them all, paints them all, and applies the sticker on site and has young people help him do it. And it's not a haphazard. Like I'm standing there, at an event, and I'm sanding him, and then I go to set it down, and he checks it. He's checking it to make sure I sanded it properly. So every single one is done with Chris with love, right?
With love.
Yeah.
With love.
So it's not. There is no half measure one of those that goes out. And get involved and support it, man, because it does mean something to him. And I believe me when I tell you, it will mean something to you when you leave, because it's just an experience. And I dig you for that, brother.
Well, I appreciate
That's
it,
awesome.
Dave, and I appreciate you being a part of it. I mean, again, it is. I tell people that I'm going out training. That's all I'm doing. So I'm helping people learn the process so that they can continue with the process. Right. The White Ribbon Project was founded by a survivor, Heidi Onda, and her husband, Pierre. And in that founding, she realized that there were certain groups that we expected to do more and raise awareness that weren't. And in that moment, she screamed out and yelled for her husband to make her a big white ribbon, and a big white ribbon that she could put on the door, and she wouldn't have to wait for somebody, that she could raise awareness as a survivor that I'm here and that I matter and that we matter. And then challenging the other survivors after the ribbon had been made, she challenged them really to just stand and raise awareness if other people weren't doing it. And they asked for a ribbon. And when she realized that it helped them to be able to share because they had a ribbon, and she was like, "This is awesome. We are going to try to get them all ribbons." And I said, "Man, that's a tall order, but hey, I'm right here with you. We can we can work to make that happen." And she was trying to figure out, well, what was the difference of why they wanted the ribbons? And it was like, I said, because you're making them with love. The white ribbon before reminded them of their worst day. But now when you make this ribbon and then you get all these people that traced it, that helped in the cutting, helped in the sanding, helped in the painting, helped and then signed it. And now when you're looking at it on this day that is horrible, you can look at this ribbon and know you have a team of people in your community that are fighting for you, that are loving you, that are praying for you, that are just there with you, right?
That's beautiful. You totally changed the whole meaning of it.
Yes.
You can see how excited he is about it too, which to me says it all.
Yes.
The passion.
I mean,
Chris, I hate to do this to you because, man, we're going to take about a 180-degree turn, and we're going to read an advertising thing about our great sponsor, mybookie.com. But John, because we got to throw this into our show. They're a great sponsor of us. John, you've got that right.
Yeah, when your money's on the line, choose a trusted sportsbook that gives you tools to win like MyBookie. At MyBookie, it doesn't matter if your team's up or down. You can easily cash out or bet the game live to come out on the winning side. Use MyBookie for daily odds boosts, same game parlays, and take advantage of our huge prize pool contest. Every single sack, fumble, and touchdown is another chance to hit payday. To get started, go to mybookie.ag, and on your first deposit, use promo code SIDELINE to grab a deposit match up to $1,000. Try the MyBookie money bag to grab a potential Super Bowl frontrunner at long shot odds, plus 38,000 on the Eagles and Chiefs. You won't find odds like that anywhere else. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie.
That sounds pretty good, John.
Yeah, he's been
I think,
practicing.
I'm not a gambler, but $1,000 money back. You got me a
Well,
little
you get
excited, John.
50%. They'll match up to 50% of your initial.
I'm saying.
beat
So
that.
I'm saying I could
It's
walk
only
away with
your
a lot of
initial
money.
deposit. So your initial deposit better be big. Otherwise, why waste
So
50%?
that's what I'm saying. Up to 1,000. That's pretty good.
And most
John,
places are up to 250. So my bookies on
you may have
1,000.
convinced me, John. I mean, yeah, that's a lot of money. That'd
All
be
right.
pretty good.
Hey, Chris. So we can't have a former Falcon on without talking some Falcon football.
Gotcha.
For those that are listening, and one topic that was going to be for Rob Roberts, who I think we're going to have on next week, who's the chairman for the former Players Advisory Board. We served together on the NFLPA, is about kind of like this big gaming push now, and how the NFL is in bed with them. It's a big funding source for the NFL, but then guys are getting in trouble for betting. And I think it might have happened in Atlanta. I'm not sure, but
Calvin Ridley was the first.
Calvin
There may or may
Ridley
not.
definitely was an example that hopefully was an example for other people. But I think his situation is different than the guy that was in Tennessee, where it was more of a technicality, and so it does create a situation. I mean, you think of back in the day, the last place that we wanted to have a team was in Las Vegas. Yeah. But now with online betting that can happen all over the place, what does it matter to be in Vegas? Might as well be in Vegas. So it doesn't matter anymore. Again, the NFL pivoted. That it's been beneficial for fantasy football. That sells, direct TV and these, all the access to the games. So I would say that the game is it always evolves. There's always rule changes, and unfortunately, there's always casualties of rule changes.
Yeah. Well, so I set you up to talk about Atlanta football, and then I did a pivot on you and went to the negative side of things. Let's talk about we all got together and we made picks before the season. And in this division, we all picked Atlanta. I'm pretty sure we all did. I think someone might have picked the Saints, but I think we pretty much all picked Atlanta to do well in this division. How are you looking? I know you're very involved with the team. How do you feel things are going?
Well, I think the key is that they're going to go as far as Ritter right now, and he's going to need to be able to make some big throws in crucial situations. That's going to be the difference maker, right? They've got some dogs. I mean, to use some Dion's lingo, they've got some dogs out there between with Pitts and London and absolutely Bijan and Tyler Algieri, and I mean they've got some guys that can make plays, and so it's critical that Ritter's able to spread the ball around and think of himself more as a point guard, right? Not that you have to do that you have to be this guy, this that you're doing it, but really just distributing the ball and getting it to the other players. And then, defensively, they got to, not give up big plays and be consistent with which they're doing. They're getting better. They're giving themselves a chance to be able to win. And so I think right now, the biggest thing is really comes back with the quarterback, of Ritter being able to be more consistent, and you can't miss. There's plays where you just can't miss. You've got to, put that ball in the line, and because if you don't get that touchdown there, most of the games in the NFL they come down. They're all close.
Come down to a couple plays.
There you go. So we can't miss those plays.
So, Chris, speaking of Desmond Ritter, and I'm sure some of our listeners probably would agree with me right now, the hook has got to be coming for Ritter eventually. And Heineke has proven to be a nice backup, a guy that can throw the ball down the field. He's not an elite quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. However, he can get the ball downfield. He can throw the ball. And Ritter really can't push the ball downfield. It's not a knock on him. He just isn't able to push it downfield, whereas Heineke can. So when does the hook come, if it comes at all? Because something's got to change. Either Ritter's got to get better or they got to put Heineke in, because they're not going to win this division if the quarterback play doesn't improve.
Yeah, I mean that's a hard decision. I mean, again, with Ritter, you're looking at your guy for the future. So to take him out is that changes a lot of things. But I think he's just young. He's young, and what happens when you play at the end of the season and people aren't game planning for you as much. You're able to have some success, but right now he's the guy, and so I think he's continuing to grow, and the problem is that people are adjusting to him. And I think that's, as a young guy, as young players, really, again, college guys coming into the pros, is that can you handle the adjustments, right? That, they're watching the games, they're seeing what you do well, and it's all of a sudden like, hold up, they just, they keep adjusting. They keep adjusting. So can can he have a mindset that grows where he's able to continue to adjust? And again, that's the key. He definitely can throw the deep balls. He can take, he can throw all the throws, but does he have the confidence to do that when the defenses are adjusting?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I was amazed, Chris, and I went to an event. You might be familiar with RX3. RX3 is Aaron Rodgers and the quarterback crew is a financial fundraising platform. They showed up here in Orange County, and I'd never met Aaron Rodgers. I'd never have seen Ritter, and I walk onto the field, and I'd never seen Josh Allen in person before. And I look over, I see Josh Allen. I say, "Who's that tight end?" And then then I'm walking around. And then Leinart was there, Garcia was there, and, the Orange County QB crew. Yep. And I'm walking around as an ex-offensive lineman, looking at quarterbacks all night. And Desmond, I didn't know he's 6'3". He looks small on the field, And these cats are all big humans out there. That's what amazes me about the game. And I work with Jesse Sapolo. And we do the Polynesian Bowl Combine with high school kids. And I'm walking around and looking at 15-year-old and looking up to 15-year-olds, Yes. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, definitely they're getting bigger in certain positions, but there's always been some guys that are big, but or they're smaller until you actually get right up on them that you really don't know. Again, so a guy like Josh Allen is big, athletic, can throw. I mean, and that's why when he runs the ball, but unfortunately, that's why when he runs the ball, sometimes he's a little reckless because of how big he is. That he thinks, well, I could just run somebody over. And it's like, well, yeah, we don't need you doing that.
No.
Yeah. Got to be careful.
Definitely don't want that.
So where do you see Atlanta finishing the season in the conference?
Well, again, they've got a lot of conference games to play, and I think that they can make some adjustments with Ritter. I mean, again, if he doesn't have the confidence to be able to do it, he will probably get pulled. But they have enough talent to be able to win the division. They absolutely do. But if they don't, you see the Saints. Tampa Bay took an L from Detroit last week, but what do we see from Detroit? Literally, I know Barry Sanders is probably over there like, man, can I come back? Because this is what I wanted when I was
JB. Hey guys, what have I been saying almost every time we bring up the Lions? Man, if that guy had an offensive line, he'd still be playing.
I got it.
Oh, yeah.
He was.
I mean, he was saying, "Do you guys want to win? I don't need to run for more yards. I don't need to do that. Do we want to win?" They could not convince one of the baddest men that ever played this game that they wanted to win. So he was like, "Okay, I'm done then."
Yeah.
He did that twice. Yeah. Calvin Johnson, same thing.
I was going to say, Megatron, don't forget about him.
History. Couldn't convince him to continue playing.
Crazy to think that they could have done that to one of the better receivers and one of the greatest all-time running backs. Scary.
It's so ridiculous. I mean, at least with Calvin, he had some injuries where he was contemplating it. But with Barry, he was healthy. He was.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
He was just like, I'm out. I'm done.
Like 2 years before, I think he rushed for 2,000 yards. I mean, like people were still scared. I was playing for the Bears that year, and goodness gracious, we got there.
Because you've had a great career though, and you played. I mean, for I guess any NFL team is going to be historic in one respect or another. But of all the organizations you played for, which one is kind of closest to your heart?
That's hard because every place that I went, I made it home. So, they touch my heart in a each one in a different way because I mean, what is when you put those numbers up, each year you have to earn the right to play, right? Mm-hmm. So when I think of Chicago, I think of getting drafted, and this is where I started. When I think of the 49ers, I think of being able to come back to the Bay and being down the street from Stanford and having a guy, George Stewart, look at me and says, brother, I know you can play, right? I think of the Falcons, establishing, being there for 5 years and getting that next contract and being, being able to make it home and being able to interact with people like Andrew Young, who marched with Dr. King, being able to, get to know Bernice King, Dr. King's daughter in Atlanta, to going up to Carolina. I met my wife up in Carolina, in Charlotte, right? The best grass field in the league, to play there, and then to play in St. Louis with the Rams who were in Anaheim, all while I was growing up. So I could, my elementary school, my junior high, my high school were blue and gold. The Rams were blue and gold. Right. I was destined to play for the Rams. And then the Buffalo Bills, the Bills Mafia. Oh my goodness, man. This blue collar town with people that if it's snowing outside, it's still going to be sold out. Come on, man. This is Buffalo. And then to be able to get some time with the Redskins / Commanders, those are special places, man. That the history that is there, Washington, D.C. I was running down to the, that's like candy for me. I mean, they're like, where are you going now? Oh, the Department of Ed. Where are you going? EPA. Where are you going? Oh, I got an event with the vice president. Oh, so every place is amazing. And just more than anything that, each year the mascots stay the same, the colors and everything for the most part stay the same, or stadiums, but it's a new team. So each one of those teams, again, are special, every experience. And, the only way that you have that experience is to earn the right to be there. Right. So, yeah.
Chris, is there a website for your foundation?
So definitely look at the White Ribbon Project .org. Check that out. Don't look at terms from my foundation, but that's the work. That's really the team that I've been supporting. The work of the foundation was really to identify leaders. Now those leaders are really taking a leadership role as a part of the White Ribbon Project.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Dave, you had something?
Yep. I'm asked out. This is my brother, man.
Okay. You sounded like you were going to ask something, so I didn't want to. I wanted to make sure you had your moment.
I want to give you guys an opportunity because this is an awesome guy.
No, I mean, phenomenal. I mean, the work he put in. Looking at his career. I mean, you started out from the practice squad. You worked your way to become a starter, and not just a starter, a really good starter. You did accomplished amazing things in Atlanta. You then went on, had the unfortunate circumstance with your wife, but you used her strength to help others, which is phenomenal. I mean, to do that says a lot about who you are as a person and who your wife was. I feel lucky that we got a chance to talk to you. And, hopefully the people of Atlanta appreciate what you do for them.
I appreciate it, man. I mean, it's not just Atlanta, though. So know that, this work is international. And what's special about Atlanta? Why do I live there? I mean, when I live right downtown, I look out my window at CNN. Granted, they've moved now over to the Turner Studios, but that was just recent. I mean, I was looking out at CNN. My next door neighbor was American Cancer Society. Right down the street is CDC, and Morehouse School of Medicine is there. I mean, in Atlanta, we can speak to the world, and that's not like me just pumping up Atlanta in some type of crazy way. No, that's literally when I look across the park. Yes, we can speak to the world. I was in Cairo, Egypt last year, and I'm at the hotel. And what do I see? I'm looking at CNN, and I'm like, "Hold up, that's the park. Hey, that's my building.
That's home.
And that's home." And I'm realizing that I'm in Cairo, actually looking at Atlanta, and it reminded me when we had a survivor on Super Bowl Sunday in 2019, that literally that interview that was in Atlanta had the potential of being seen all over the world, right? And it was really I walked home from the interview, and then later that day we walked the lung cancer survivor that that was the top fundraiser in our Lung Cancer Survivor Super Bowl Challenge, and walked her over, and she went to the game a little bit later.
That's awesome.
Right? But that was, that's the access. We know how TBS has been a huge part of why the Braves are so popular, because TBS made it where nationally they were seen. I mean, I watched Braves games growing up, Braves and Cubs games. So that's what's been, special about Atlanta. And then the other part is there's more active and retired players that live there. So when we think of our ability to empower them, when they go back out, they're able to change the world. So that is,
that's a big chapter for the PA for sure. One of the biggest and most established and well attended right there in Atlanta. Hey, so Chris, I got to ask you, because we're about to wrap up here. Do you golf?
I drive a cart real well.
So
I thought you were going to say I can drive the ball real well, and I was like, "Good for you. That's hard." Oh, you drive a cart.
No, I'm with Chris this year. We're going to be in our group.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll be in the bad players group, but I sure hope I'll be sending you more information about my tournament. I know we've talked about it. I'd love just to have you and your personality out there, because I guess you shine light, you make everyone smile, and it's infectious. I love you, brother. I appreciate you coming on.
Man, thank you. I'll tell you this. I know what my role is, and that is not to hit great balls or anything like that. I am a motivator. I'm going to make sure that whatever group I'm in, that they are going to be the most believing. It's all possible, that we can be the champions. All of that.
Well, good, because you'll be hanging on with a bunch of veterans that need to hear that too. You know that.
And
awesome,
we need more positivity in the world anyway.
Absolutely.
Very true.
It's an unfortunately very negative world with many not so great things going on, but you shine a light, as Dave said. So thank you for that. Really, it's awesome what you do.
We appreciate your time.
Well, I appreciate you guys, man.
All right, brother.
Anytime.
Hey, take care, man. We're just gonna read some more ads, so we appreciate your time. We'll let you go.
Awesome, man. You guys be good.
All right, be blessed.
Thanks, Chris. John, speaking of positivity, Joe, let's talk about my bookie. Go ahead, give it a read.
Sure. When your money's on the line, choose a trusted sportsbook that gives you the tools to win, like MyBookie. At MyBookie, it doesn't matter if your team's up or down. You can easily cash out or bet the game live to come out on the winning side. Use MyBookie for daily odds boosts, same game parlays, and take advantage of huge prize pool contests. Every single sack, fumble, and touchdown is another chance to hit payday. To get started, go to mybookie.ag, and on your first deposit, use promo code SIDELINE to grab a deposit match up to $1,000. Try the MyBookie money bag to grab a potential Super Bowl frontrunner at long shot odds, plus 38,000 on the Eagles and Chiefs. You won't find odds like that anywhere else. Bet anything, anywhere, anytime. Bet MyBookie.
John, what was that code one more time?
Sideline.
Sideline
right.
to get up to 50%, up to 1,000. So hey,
That's pretty good.
we are all four going to set up our accounts, and the challenge is going to be on because
God.
this. And keep in mind, folks, this gambling. Yeah, we all want to make money, but it's all about having fun too. And so
Yes. Gamble responsibly, of course.
we are going to have some fun and keep track. And I think we're each going to throw in an extra $1 for the winner. So we'll keep you posted.
I'll gladly. I'll give you guys the address to mail the dollars.
I was gonna say, I think JB's gonna be winning because the only one here that actually gambles on a regular basis is JB. Not that the rest of us can't pick it up, but JB has a little bit of an edge. He's would it be fair to call you a bit of a shark, JB?
There's many different ways to bet. It's not just about the winners, as Raphael would say. Just stay away from the P word.
He's a professional addict. Get it
parlay.
right.
Parlay.
Yes, you don't want those. Even though I'm watching my one tonight right now, doing very well.
Go figure. Use code Sideline.
Hey, what's the parlay? What's the parlay you're on now, JB?
I got the Islanders, the Oilers, and Southern Alabama. It's Tuesday night. There's not much going on,
dude.
Holy smokes!
That's weird.
That's not like
it's a Tuesday night.
It's the Southern Alabama that I can't get past.
Oh, it's college football. There's plenty of games in college football. You just got to find the right ones.
Hey, just code Sideline if you're doing it. That's all I ask.
I didn't even know It's Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
I forget.
These conferences, they got to play. Let's say we're in Atlanta, the college football capital of the world. Come on. Football Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Let the NFL play Sunday.
We haven't even talked about their beloved Georgia.
Well, we'll have to save that till next week.
Yeah.
Because we got to wrap up. So let's wrap it up. JB, start us off.
JB_ the program on Twitter. Got Hawk Talk coming up in a few minutes. If you're around on Tuesday night, if you listen to Wednesday morning, follow us on Tuesday night so you can watch Hawk Talk. Jake?
That's right.
Did you say Jake?
Yeah, is he live?
Oh, I thought you said Dave. I gotta be honest, I thought you said Dave. That's my bad. Even when we're looking at each other, I still don't know that JB's talking to me. You guys can find me on Twitter at Jake_Malik. You got Sideline Sports. Look up all the social medias. And like John said, for mybookie.ag, use the code Sideline. Dave?
This Dave. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. And as the guys are mentioning, and I appreciate it, we have launched a new show called Hawk Talk, where we talk Seahawk football with my co-host Walter Thurman, the Third Legion of Boom, and Trey Madden. I'm sorry, and we always have a former player on with us, and we always bring on a 12. And so,
love that.
If you're a Seahawk fan living in misplaced in Atlanta, check us out.
John.
DBTV, NFL Alumni Media, Sideline Sports, and Blue Hawks 13 on Twitter. That's it.
Dave, what do you got to tell the people before we go?
Be good humans.
That's right. And we'll see you guys next time.